Okay, welcome to part 2 of my playthrough of Days of Decision for Cataclysm, a Second World War. This is going to be the 1939 through 40 turn. So I'll go ahead and throw all these shits in the cup. I'll unflip the commitment markers, because people can go to Total War this turn. It might not be smart, but they could go to Total War if they really wanted to. Let's see. This reserve token goes back to production holding. Let's see. First is France, who has no resources and they can't do anything. So they do get a flag, and I guess I'll put it here. But that's pretty bad for France. They really need to liberate Paris, so they're just toast. Next up is Italy. Italy is mobilized, and they have one permanent resource handy, so they'll get 1, 2. Oh, yeah, and France would get war offensives if they had any army, but they don't. Italy is going to burn their Roman resource. So by burning that, it gives them 1 extra war offensive. They'll get 2 war offensives, and they'll get 1 more, which is going to... So that's 3 offensives total. Yeah, one of the offensives is now currently a aid to Spain, but we'll leave it there. They also get 1 flag. All right, United Kingdom gets 1 flag, and they get war offensive times 1. They don't have any resources they can burn right now. They do, however, get 3 resources, which is good for them, because they're going to need them. So 3 resources is 6 builds, and they'll build 2 armies, 2 planes, and a tank upgrade. Yeah. With a focus on... Well... Yeah, let's put that tank into play for a possible revenge operation. Il Duce here is gonna just go for flag. And France, sorry, I keep confusing everybody. Germany gets 2 flags. They use their resource here, so they have 1, 2 war offensives, and they'll burn the Swedish resource, so they have 3 resources now. So that's 3 builds: 1 tank, 2 mans, and 2 planes. And they're going to just put the offensive in their reserve, hopefully. Knock these Democrats out of the game as soon as possible. Okay. Put these in action cup. Put these in action cup. Put these in action cup. Okay, so the Germans are just going to go for it. They're going to attempt to attack Brittany. It might actually make more sense for them to do it without augmentation, so they can go for a second attack if that attack fails. I think they'll do that. So they'll go 2 versus 2, or 3 versus 2. 3 versus 2. So the French fight him off. They'll go for a second attack. 3 versus 2. And the French fight him off. Wow. French are getting lucky as hell here. No losses because these were so close battles, but if they'd tied, then they would have been toast. Okay, so we'll send this to available. The British aren't going to interrupt with that. The French could interrupt, not to do much, though. I guess they'll interrupt and do propaganda again. Nope. Okay, let's see what we draw. Civil War resolution. This is going to be 3 versus 2, I think, in Spain. So 6 versus 6. That's a tie. Got to look up what that means exactly when one side has aid and the other side does not. Both factions lose all their aid markers. The Civil War continues. Okay, so Civil War rages on. And we're in 1939. Yeah, let's just draw, see what happens. An Italian offensive. Interesting. So the Italians could use this for a sneak attack on the British fleet. I think they will. So they'll do this sneak attack at +1 versus the British fleet. The British can go ahead and support with, well, they'll let their French allies support in this battle. Or no, they'll put these into battle. So that's going to be 3 + 1 versus 2. 3 + 1 makes 7, and 2 is 5. So that would be a hit to the British, but the British can just retreat, and they do so. They retreat 2 spaces to Egypt. And yeah, we'll say this was a base capture mission, so I don't think it actually costs anything. Maybe it's another operation or something. Another action. Okay, so the fascists can go ahead and grab. They'll send their thing back to Sicily. They'll leave the air power here. Send this to available, and they'll grab the base in Malta. So, unlike history, the Italians have now taken Malta. This provokes the heck out of the UK, so they get 2 flags. France, as their ally, gets 2 flags. And the UK, they get anything from that? No, I guess they don't. Just war for everybody. Okay, so a yellow cube goes on here. Technically, these are separate wars. So there's a UK-French-German war and a UK-French-Italian war that are both happening at the same time. Kind of a weird way this works out. Okay. Let's see. French could interrupt here. They will. They get propaganda. So they're stable, but they need more units, like desperately. Here's a crisis. The crisis is 5-2. And that is inter-service rivalry. Well, Japan is not in this game, so that won't be happening. Here's a troop for the Germans. They're going to put this in a defensive position in the Ruhr. Well, yeah, I think that's the best. What they really need here is an offensive. Okay, as a Luftwaffe, yeah, that can go into Paris. Offensive. Okay, Italian offensive. It's close. I think the Italians will attempt to conquer Egypt. This could be a big blow to the. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. So I think we're going to go for is Egypt, because that sounds like fun. So we'll go into Egypt. This plane will be at extended range, but that's okay because there's no air combat to happen. So it'll be 3 versus 1. 3 Italians versus 1 British. They get a 4. So the British lose Egypt. These boats can't make it back to. Well, one can make it to Gibraltar. That's as close as they. So the rule is that they get to the nearest friendly port or airfield they could legally occupy. So one of them is going to Jordan, but only one because it's restricted, and the other one has to head back to Gibraltar. And that's only one move for the Italians. So they also get. So they'll go ahead and regroup here. So with their second move, they could. Yeah, they'll just attack into Jordan with the second one. See if they can't do some damage. 3 versus 1. 4 versus 1. Oh, that's very good. So this guy moves back to. Well, where can he go? Can't go Can't go to French North Africa. Brittany or United Kingdom is the nearest port. Well, that's not good for them. So now the Italians controlled Jordan. So this is going pretty poorly for the old democracies. Italy at 4, Germany at 5, fascism at 9, while UK is now at 1. They don't lose a point for Egypt because it's a colony with no resource, but still. Ouch. Okay, Il Duce is still available, but can't go right now. A crisis. This is 6-4, which is resistance. The UK chooses an area without any powers land units and at least one fascist or communist cube. The controlling power performs an effectiveness check. So they could do this in Egypt, where they probably will succeed. That's probably a good idea. If they do it in Provence, they probably will fail. So, I mean, because the Germany is at 3 and Italy is at effectiveness 1, so they'll go for Egypt. Okay, Italy fails to quell the Egyptian resistance, so they are now back down 1 point. Does Il Duce here want to do something? Yeah. Yeah, Il Duce will roll for maneuvers. So that's 1-5. They succeed. They'll attack Egypt again. 3 versus 1. 4 versus 2. That's a win. And then they'll use their final... Oh, that's only one military action, so that's all they can do. Okay. Let's see what we got. Home front for Italy. They roll 1d6 and they don't make it. Italy loses a stability point, but they get to redeploy, which is nice. I think we're going to redeploy in a way where we can invade Spain, because why the hell not? Okay, so this plane will base itself in Sardinia. These fleets are just gonna kind of float around in I guess I can't base a fleet here, unfortunately. So we'll put these fleets into Sicily. I could put one fleet over here and make it an invasion fleet. Yeah. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah, okay. That's the home front. And here's a British plane. None too soon. Put that in London where it can cover Brittany. Here's an Italian offensive. Interesting. So the Italians... Yeah. They'd love to knock out Gibraltar. Why doesn't Italy just go for an invasion of French North Africa? So that'll be like this. And it'll be... They'll invade North Africa. It'll be at 2... with a plane cover. So they'll be at 3. The enemy would be at +1. Because the adverse terrain and the invasion are not cumulative. So 3 versus 1 + 1. 2 versus 5. Ouch! That's a disaster. 2 versus 6, actually. That's a disaster for the beleaguered Italians. And a triumph for the... I think that's a triumph for France, actually, yeah. So France gets a flag. Italy gets a stability check, which they fail. Now Italy is on the verge of collapse. Interesting. That was only one action. I guess I could try it again, but I don't want to collapse. Yeah, they'll try it again. What the hell? So they'll go from Lombardy to invade French North Africa. And try this again. 3 versus 1 plus 1. Oh, shoot. Yeah, they got a tie, so both sides lose 1, but the Italians are the only ones with anything to lose. So that was a waste of all the Italian armies. All right, let's see what we draw next here. A UK dude. This had better go in Brittany because we're desperate here. The German offensive would really like that to come up, but it hasn't happened yet. Here's an Italian guy. The UK will interrupt and flip this to a tank. Okay, so that makes the situation to France a little less desperate, but we're still on the back foot as the democracies. A French flag. Boy, what are they going to do with that? I guess they'll attempt maneuvers. I mean, you may as well. Attempt maneuvers. Oh, the French succeed. Okay, so they'll attack Paris with the British will come too, and the British plane will come too. So that's 2 versus 2 in the air. The Luftwaffe wins the day. And that's going to be, since the enemy has air superiority, but we have tank superiority, it's 2 versus 2 on the ground. 2 versus 2. Oh, it's a tie for each side. So that's actually pretty bad for the British, who lost their tank, whereas the Wehrmacht only lost an army. Though both sides are stretched pretty thin here. Okay, let's see what happens. Blue plane. Yeah, can't actually use that. Send it to the force pool. What a waste. Blue fleet. Send it to the force pool. Big freaking waste. German maneuvers. Germany would love to just end this charade. Okay, they'll go for maneuvers. They succeed. And let's go for it again. What the hell? So British support. 2 versus 2 in the air. 2 versus 2. British win in the air. That's going to be 2 versus 3. 2 versus 3. Oh, and the Germans screwed up big time because the Germans only roll a 1 and the French roll a 4. So that's a disaster for the Germans and a triumph for the French. Good timing. Okay, so the Germans take a stability check. They pass it, but the French get a flag, which they need. The French will roll for maneuvers to try and go back into Paris. They succeed. Okay, so let's see if the French can retake Paris. Oh, and one of my cubes got deleted somehow. So the British will follow them there. The planes will come too. 2 versus 2 in the air. 3 versus 6. Ouch. That means the end of the British Air Force again. The RAF has taken a beating in this game. And then it's going to be 2 versus 2 because Paris doesn't have any units there, but they do have the plane air superiority. So 2 on 2. 2 for the attacker, that's a 6, and for the defender, it's a 3. That means that's a success. So the enemy air force retreats. The Germans are cleared from Paris. France is no longer a negative victory, which is nice. They take a flag for their efforts. They take 2 actually, but they don't have flags for it. And we'll leave these guys here for the continual attack. Boy, this has been a real seesaw. I don't know. It's funny the French managed to hang on this long, honestly. Okay, so that means Germany is down to 3 points. Fascism is down to 7 points. The French are at 0. The English, the British are at 1. So democracy is at 1 point. Okay. British flag. Well, they can roll for maneuvers, and I think they had better. Because they already have a cube of shame there. Okay, they get it. So they roll for maneuvers. It's going to be an invasion of Lorraine. 2-on-2. Because the enemy has air superiority. 2 versus 2. Oh, shoot. We don't succeed. Okay. Another crisis. That's not the last one, is it? No, there's one more. This crisis is 4-1, which is congressional investigation. U.S. is not in this game, though. Here's the German home front. Not a minute too soon. Germany is going to roll 3 for the home front. They succeed with a 6. And I think they had better counterattack in France. I just don't see what else the Germans can really do here. I think they need to throw everything into the fight. Going to total war wouldn't be bad for the Germans at this point either. Okay. A British flag. The British could go for maneuvers again, but it's a risk. I don't know. What if the British attempted to diplomacy in Benelux? Then they could move through Benelux. Or better yet, what if the British just did maneuvers and put a plane into play? I mean, that would be good too. Well, let's try Benelux. No, it's only a lower chance because they have to get a 6 for Benelux. I don't know. What do you think? Alright, so they're going to use this flag and roll for, yeah, let's make it maneuvers. Okay, they succeed maneuvers. They'll put a plane in their reserve. So we draw now. Another German flag. Where the hell are the German offensives is what I'm asking here. Did I remember to put them in the cup? There's one more there. Yeah. Germany, I think, will roll for maneuvers here. Actually, they'll roll for pressure to put Italy on a better footing. So they roll for pressure. Italy gets a flag. They'll take it to reserve. UK will respond, putting this dude in Paris. So they're pretty evenly matched here on the French front. Il Duce will now roll for propaganda. Success. So Italy won't collapse immediately. British flag. British are going to roll again for... Well, geez. I guess they could increase their commitment. That's not a bad idea if they want to win this war. So they get 3 more units in their force pool. That's an army and an air force. And, well, there hasn't been a lot of naval combat in this game, so I guess another army. They also get 1 commitment offensive, which they'll put in reserve. Germany could really use some help here. Okay, it's a Air Force. Tactical Air Force. German Air Force. Put that in... Shoot. I don't know. Ruhr, I guess. Defend the homeland. UK will interrupt with a total war offensive. They're going to go for it here. They're going to go push into the Ardennes with an augmentation of +2. They want to break the German forces here. So these troops and these planes will go in. So in the air, it's 2 + 2 versus 2. 4 makes 6 versus 6. So 1 Air Force shot down on both sides, no air superiority. And then it'll be 2 + 2 versus 2. That's 6 versus 3. Oh, a catastrophe or a disaster even for the poor Germans who are forced out of Lorraine. We'll not regroup. We'll just leave all our forces there. So that was a triumph for the UK, who gets a flag, and it was a disaster for the Germans, who get a stability check, which they pass. Yeah, good thing for the French though. The French would get a flag, except they already got their flag. So, let's see what we draw now. A German tank. Well, they'll put that in reserve because they definitely want that tank, but they don't have any troops currently because they may be in some trouble here. The French will roll for maneuvers. No, I may as well have the British roll for maneuvers. No, I'll do French because they want to try and liberate their. Okay, they make it. So the French will try and liberate Provence with 3 versus 1 plus 1. 5 versus 2. Okay. The German garrison in Provence collapses. The French end up here. We got to remember that the Italians could attack at any moment, too. I don't know. This war has gotten weird. I mean, it's very, very dynamic in the way it's going back and forth. Okay. So that was a French clearance of Provence, so they get a flag for that, for clearing an enemy out of their home territory. Germany can't interrupt with that thing. It's the British home front. They probably won't make this one. No, they don't. So the British actually fall by 2 points. That's really bad for them because it means they're 1 away from collapse. Even so, this may be the best disposition of forces they can get. I guess they could put a carrier here in. They could put their carrier in Gibraltar to try to ward off enemies there, but I don't know how well it's going to work. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean it's looking grim on both sides here, so I'm not sure who's really winning or losing. I mean, the Germans are kicked out of France, so that's good for them. The French are up to 2 points. The Germans are down to 1 point. So fascism's at 5, and democracy is at 3. Boy, it might have been that I just attacked with the Germans too early, but they were pretty close to conquering it all. I mean, now that they're kicked out of France, it looks really dumb, but who knows? Okay, so it's a British offensive. The British are going to... they're going to attack at +1 into the Ruhr. That leaves 1 military action to be used. So they'll attack at +1 into the Ruhr. Hopefully they can shoot down some enemy planes here. 2 plus 1 versus 2. No, let's do it at 2 plus 2 because we got so many enemy aircraft. So 2 plus 2 versus 2 in the air. 6, actually that's 9. That's a very large number. So it blows up to 7 and then it becomes +2 to make 9. Enemy rolls 4. So actually they would take 2 hits to their Air Force. In this case, they take 1 because they'll retreat the other Air Force to Berlin. But that's not good for the Germans. That means they have air superiority in the Ruhr. So it's going to be 3 plus 2 versus 1. So 6 makes 8 versus 2. Okay, so the Germans fail to defend the Ruhr. And consequently, the British have taken control. This means that the Germans suffer a stability hit. In theory, they actually do this time. This ship can retreat to Silesia. And yeah, it looks like the German front might be the place for a breakthrough. Okay, the Germans can't use their thing in reaction. The German army. Now, we'd really like to kill that army before it can be upgraded to a tank. So, British are going to go for maneuvers again. They succeed. Here it goes. 2 versus 2. 2 British is a 3. 2 German is a 3. Okay, so these armies have killed each other. Great. Now there's no armies. This game. The Germans can't use their reserve, at least. So that's a saving grace. It's the French home front. They pass. What do you know? I think the French had better keep this troop in Provence because, well, if the French could go to here and they could roll for maneuvers successfully, they could maybe take Berlin, but I think that's too risky at this point. Too risky. Crisis. And that'll be the final crisis. Yeah, that's the last crisis of 1940. This has been a strange year. Okay, so what do we got here? Yeah, just 2 Italians. So it was an Italian army. The Italians didn't get to build much. This is a British army, actually. A French flag, Italian army, Italian Air Force, German offensive. Wow, that was an eventful turn. The war has to be decided next turn. Democracy is sort of, kind of ahead, depending on how you look at it. But we'll see.